Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing a deck profile on my Infernoid deck after how many years, especially with the new Eternity code with the 1 month delay of that one card that is needed for Infernoids and all the cards that were released over the years that actually help Infernoids as well, even though they were not made for Infernoids specifically. So let's just get started. So first off, let's just start with the playstyle of this deck. The playstyle focuses on summoning Infernoid monsters while your total stars on the field are 8 or less. And also the second part of its playstyle, they also have a tribute effect where you can tribute them to do something, mostly to counter your opponent. So let's just get started with 2 Infernoid Onanshu and 2 Infernoid Deviati. These are the big daddies themselves. So, Onanshu and Deviati both require 3 Infernoids from your hand and or graveyard to summon. So you have to banish 3 to summon this, and while your total stars on the field are 8 or less. So the minute that you summon these, you're pretty much locked in summoning any more Infernoids because Deviati is level 9, Onanshu is level 10, and their tribute effects, because all of them have the tribute effect, although these are the only unique ones. Onanshu can negate the effect of a spell or trap and then banish it after, and Deviati can negate a monster effect and banish it after. And they both have a unique effect, and Onanshu's unique effect dark holes the field other than itself, and Deviati heavy storms the field. So both of them have their uses. I run 2 mainly just to get them out sooner. That's the main reason, and the other one is really for a card for later. And you saw Fusion. Actually, I'm just going to say it's for the Fusion card, really. Next, for the big Infernoids, not the big daddies, which all require 2 Infernoids. Antondel, Cydamus, and Sajet. So first off, they all require 2 Infernoids. And all of them have the tribute effect and are all the same. All of them you can tribute any monster to banish 1 card in your opponent's graveyard, and it works on both players' turns. It's the same thing as the big Infernoids, where it both works in both players' turns. So these could disrupt plays. Antondel's unique effect is the same thing as BLS. After it destroys opponent's monster by battle, it can attack again. Cydamus, when this card attacked opponent's monster during the end of the battle phase, you can straight up banish 1 card your opponent's control. It does not target, by the way. And Sajet, you don't really need to care about it. It really just does something against your opponent's extra deck. But Sajet is only ran as a combo piece, really. And because it's level 6, so it works as a combo piece, which works with several cards. So I run 2 Antondel, mainly for its rank 8 plays, despite its effect not as relevant, but rank 8 plays does have its uses. And Cydamus just has a good effect, and also rank 7 is also there. And speaking of some combo plays, Sajet has a combo play that you can also go for rank 7 plays with it as well. And then for the small Infernoids, which all require 1 Infernoid, Petrulia, Armadic, Antra, and Primitus. So, Petrulia, so first off, all of them have the tribute effect, but it only works on your opponent's turn this time. It just straight up banishes your opponent's card, but most of the time you're going to do that on your opponent's turn. Most of the time these are not going to be really on the field. It's only your big Infernoids that are really good to be on the field, so most of the time you're not really get the effect. But they're unique effects. Petrulia destroys a spell or trap on the field, but it cannot attack during the turn. Armadic destroys a monster on the field, but it cannot attack during the turn. Antra bounces a face-up card on the field. It has 0 attack, so that attack on the turn doesn't really matter. And Primitus can return 1 set card to your opponent's deck, and your opponent cannot chain it. So Primitus is really there just for combo purposes because it's level 1 and it can actually do some stuff. Antra Antra has a pretty unique effect because it doesn't destroy and it just straight up bounces, and also can combo. Armor deck, I run 3, despite the destroy effect not being too relevant anymore. This card, being a level 3, can combo. Of course, I also run a rank 3 in this deck, which can do some combos, and also another card that can combo with this to make that a level 4, and this is level 4 can be very helpful for some extra deck plays, which is why I run 3 of these and 2 of this. So it does have some uses, and Primitus is really there just because it can combo with something, and sometimes does have uses. Speaking of combo piece, Decatron. Decatron is the combo piece, and this is the only Infernoid that can be normal summon, by the way. So when summoned, you can Foolish Burial Infernoid from your deck. It gains its effect and its levels. And this is what I meant why I run 3 Harmor decks, and the same thing with Sajet for rank 7 place. So what you can do, you can normal summon this, send this to the graveyard, and that's important because you just send an Inferno to your graveyard. Gains its level, so this card becomes level 4, and it gains its effect, so that effect can be decent. Banish this, and then summon your Petrulia, and you just got yourself a rank 4, level 8 play, or you could go for a Link summon if you wish, because Links do not have levels, so Links is good in this deck. Or you can pretty much do anything, like send this, summon this for rank 3 plays, or level 6 synchros, but I don't have any for this deck, or same thing. Or it could be the other way around, same thing. You could do a lot of stuff with it. And for the rank 7 play, you could send Sajet to the graveyard, this card becomes level 7, and you got yourself a rank 7 play. Because the big Infernoids can summon themselves from the graveyard, while the small Infernoids can only summon themselves from their hand. And same thing for rank 8, so this card can do a lot of stuff. And then for my last monster, I run Raiden, because Raiden is a level 4 tuner, and I just want an extra monster that can normal summon, and so I can do some combo plays with it. That's really why I run the one Raiden, but you don't really have to run it. I just prefer to run it. And now to the spells. First off, I run Void Banishment. So this card is your Void Searcher, which are the spells and traps for Infernoids. Discard 1 card and add 1 Void card from your deck to your hand. So they're your Infernoid spell and traps. But the only downside about this for activating that effect is that you cannot summon anything but Infernoids during the turn. Which you can kind of get over with it, because technically you can just summon your extra deck stuff first, and then you could play this, and then get your Void card, whatever you want. And then the second effect, you can send this to the graveyard after when Infernoid monster battles an opponent's monster and destroys it. You can send this to the graveyard and banish that monster. So, but most of the time you're not going to really use that effect. And then for next, I run Void Imagination. This is your fusion card. But first, before I speak for the fusion effect, the Inferno monsters you control become level 1. So you lost the 8-star restriction right there, pretty much. Unless you have a rank 8 on the field. And then the next part of its effect is that you can fusion summon by sending this card to the graveyard, and then use materials from your hand or field as fusion material. But, and this is the second part where most of these get extra benefits for Infernoid cards, if your opponent has a card from your opponent if your opponent controls a monster on the field that's from the extra deck. So you can send this, you can use for its fusion summon effect. If your opponent has a card from your opponent's extra deck on the field, you can send up to 6 materials from your deck to the graveyard as well. So that's 6 resources right there. Yeah. So, and because of the fusion monster, of course you're going to be able to, that just makes it easier to summon straight up. The only downside sometimes with these effects is that these bonus effects where your opponent controls an extra deck monster is if your opponent's not really playing a heavy extra deck kind of deck. Monarchs. And soon, maybe Drachma. And then before I go to the new card, I play Void Seer. This card just gives your Infernoid card protection. Just activate it. One of your Infernoid cards is unaffected by card effects this turn, and if your Infernoid card would be destroyed, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. Well, one of the effects in a turn. And then for the new card, I run Void Apocalypse. I don't run 3 like most people, and the same thing with the other Void cards. Many people just run 3, but I say it's too many. So what this card does is that you can discard 1 card and send 1 fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard. So this card just straight up pretty much search for your Infernoids cards, because your Inferno cards can pretty much summon themselves from the graveyard. Yeah, but if your opponent has something from the extra deck, you can send this to the graveyard instead, and send as many Inferno cards from your deck to the graveyard instead, equal to the number of monsters your opponent controls from the extra deck. So most of the time, if your opponent has, most of the time it's 3, you send 3 cards from your deck to the graveyard. So yeah, this card has its uses, but not as, in my opinion, not as strong as Void Imagination. But this card can pretty much go for anything, while Void Imagination is kind of restricted. Speaking of an archetype that tributes stuff for costs, Lair of Darkness. This card makes it where you can tribute your opponent's monster as the cost instead. Yeah, that's why you should run this, because you can tribute your opponent's monster for your costs. And also, all monsters on the field become dark, but I don't use it for that. But yes, you can use that to your advantage, like run Super Poly and then use it for Star Venom, but I don't use it for any of that anyway. I use it for the fact that you can tribute your opponent's monster for a cost. And because we're playing a deck that needs resources while it doesn't really normal summon, you could run your Reasoning and then your Monster Gates. Most of the time they're going to declare level 1, but it doesn't really matter because you want them in your graveyard anyway. And if you're able to summon them, that's nice. That's just an extra combo. And then because for my last spell, Borrowed from Different Dimension, you're going to banish a lot, so it's just recycling purposes. And for my last card, which is a trap, it's Void Beast. So this is another combo piece that you can actually extend plays. So you can send 1 Void card from your hand or field to the graveyard. And since most of them are continuous spells, you can send 1 from the field. Summon exactly 3 Infernoids from your deck that total level to 8. And also ignore their summoning conditions. So basically this allows you, this is an instant link 3 play, by the way. But not only that, you can also go for like multiple extra deck plays of that. Because what you can do, most of the time, I intend to summon the Petrilia, the Harmadeck, and the Decatron. This total is level 8. And then maybe I send something to the graveyard. Or you can go for maybe Primitus and Sajet. Or 2 Decatrons and Dijet if you want. You can do that too. And this is why I run Sajet, because it just combos right there. And same thing because rank 7, like I said earlier. Well, that's pretty much all you can really do. You can also maybe run the level 5 one if you want, and then you can summon Antra, add that to the equation. But that level 5 one doesn't really have much use even in combos as much, so I don't really care about that one. It's just the small Infernoids and the Jet, really. So this could really get some extra plays. And if you do manage to get like another tuner or something, you can go for like a double extra deck play, whatever you wish. Or you can go get 3 more monsters, but first summoning your big Infernoids. You could get your like 2 Decatrons, and then along with your Sajet. There's like a lot of stuff you can do with that. And now to the extra deck. Because of the fusion monster, I run 2 Tiaras. You could run 3 if you want. Mainly because it does have an effect that you can send cards from your extra deck to the graveyard. But, so for its fusion materials, it requires your 2 big daddies, along with 1 or more other Infernoids. And when summoned, this card gains effects based on the different Infernoids that you use as material. So, use 3. Both players send 3 cards from their extra deck to the graveyard. And this is why I said that you can run 3. Because what you can do is you can send 2 tiaras to the graveyard and then use those as resources. And then for the one you use for 5 materials, you can, 5 materials or more, you can mill the top 3 cards of your deck. Well, both players mill the top 3 cards of your deck. So most of the time, it's only just those 2 effects. You're not going to use anything else. But the 8 card effect is 3 cards that are banished goes to the graveyard, goes back to the graveyard. So both players just send 3 cards back that are banished to the graveyard, which most of the time will just benefit you. And if it's 10 or more, most of the time you're not going to even go there at all. Both players send their entire hands to the graveyard, but most of the time you're not really going to have a hand anymore, so that effect can pretty much hurt your opponent, but at a certain point it's kind of also too late unless you summon this in your first turn somehow. But most of the time it's just the 3 or 5, which those 2 are the most relevant anyway. But my only downside with this card is that it's a super high level, so you're going to be restricted to summon your other Infernoids, but you could also run 3, like I said, just to send 2 more tiaras to the graveyard for its benefit. But instead of doing that, you have this other fusion card, which is Elder Entity Ness. I think that's how you pronounce it. Seuss. There you go. You're not going to use it for its on-field effect. You use this to combo with Tiara, because when this card sent to the graveyard, you can destroy 1 card. So, Tiara sends 3 cards, send 3 of these, pop 3. That's why you run 3 of these. And then, because I like to do it for synchros and all that, I run the Scarlight just for alternate field nuke option, and then there's Cyframe Lord Omega, and then there's Clearwing because you summon a bunch of big Infernoids anyway, so this is just some protection. And then for my rank 8, I run number 38. You can run whatever you want. Number 101 just for rank 4 option, and then for rank 3 option, Dante because milling. And then for Link monsters, because Link monsters don't have levels, so you're not going to be infected with this, Topologic Treesbana just for Link 3 option. And then for the other Link 3 option, Equamax, because Equamax, this deck summons a bunch of big Infernoids. So Equamax is going to gain a lot of attack just by playing this deck. So you could just go Antondel, Deviati, and then it gains, and it'll be 6,700 attack just like that, or maybe 6,400. And then for Link 2s, I run Master King Archfiend because this is a generic Link 2, and Equamax requires a Link monster, but its effect's not too relevant, and Needle Fiber. Needle Fiber is for Link 3 purposes, really. I don't use it for anything else other than for that Link 3 purpose, because you could just summon the Decatron with this card and then just go for instant Link 3 with that. But there is one Link 2 I would recommend, which is the Barricade board card. What it does is, when it's Link summoned, you can discard 1 card, and then during the end phase of the turn, you can return 1 continuous spell or field spell from your graveyard to your hand. And considering that your Void cards are pretty much all continuous spells, and you do run Lair of Darkness as your field spell, that will have some use. And it also gives protections to your continuous spells. So that's a Link 2 I would recommend for the deck, especially when your Link arrows don't really matter anymore because we're in Master Rule 4 Revision. So yeah, I would actually recommend that card. But for some reason I don't have it, even though it's a common. So that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed playing this deck after all those updates, because finally it's been a while since we got some actual Infernoid support. And yes, I know there's like Lair of Darkness right here, but Lair of Darkness is not really an Infernoid card. There's also just suggestions where you could run Super Poly and all that, but I don't like relying on Lair of Darkness just so I could play the Super Poly just for the Star Venom, so I'm not going to do that like most people are. But that's an option. So other than that, I hope you guys enjoy this.